Support for this show comes from Cotton. Now more than ever, cotton is the fabric of our lives. It's key to the long-lasting, breathable, and comfortable materials that fill our homes. Cotton is caring, made simple. Learn more about the benefits of cotton products for yourself, your style, and your space at thefabricofourlives.com.
Ashley. Good noticings to you, Claire.
This is Good Noticings. Ashley, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you since this morning and then again since last night.
I know. It's been only, I would say, 3 run-ins in the last
12 hours.
12 hours, which feels low.
There's a lot to catch up on. And I want to right off the top ask you, do you have anything you recommend to the people this week?
Oh my God, I do. Tell me, okay, my first one is controversial. Tell me if this is gross. I invented it this weekend and it might be like an existing dish or it might be something I made up or it might be something disgusting.
No one's ever thought.
Okay, I made egg salad using tzatziki.
I don't feel that's so far off base.
Right, because I like Turkish eggs already.
Yeah. And also I think people use Greek yogurt as a mayonnaise substitute.
And it's already herbed.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a real
It feels like what is her name? An Ina Garten. Store-bought's fine.
Exactly. And then the TV show Platonic, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy that it's about like a fun-loving duo where I feel like the woman is just as wacky as the man and she has kids.
Can I say something about you? I think memoir notwithstanding, you're kind of a Seth Rogen fan.
I know.
You actually really enjoy his work. And I think
that's why I think I was so hard on that book is because I think he's overall fairly reasonable in his celebrity statements. I don't think he says a lot of stuff that's way off base.
No, and I think if anything, he's often on base. I think you guys are actually quite aligned.
I agree. And I also think that he's made some of my favorite things.
So I think we have to give up the gauntlet and say, you know what? It was COVID and he wrote a book
that sucks.
That maybe wasn't his best work.
I also don't stand by his pottery.
He is in a position where his hobbies get elevated to professional endeavors.
Yeah. That being said, the thing that he's known for, making TV, I think he's so good at it. I really liked Platonic. I was really happy that it came back for a season 2. There's something about seeing a boy-girl best friend duo that's so unromantic be so fun and they're fully adults. Like we're not watching 2 best friends who are 20 anymore who like may or may not fall in love.
This isn't even My Girl. 2 best friends who are 8 who may or may not die by bee sting.
Exactly. No spoilers, obviously. They could not die by bee sting. And so I just think it's a really fun show to watch. My other rec is the book Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, who it turns out is my favorite author.
Can I tell you? Me too.
I can't believe how much I like all of it. And I think even Remains of the Day, which wasn't, I didn't not like it.
Rank your 3 so far.
I think it's going to go Clara, Never Let Me Go, Remains. And I think the only reason I have anything to say about Remains is because I just like the other 2 so much. Like I just love the other 2 and I really liked that one. But I was reading it very much in comparison because I was on a real kick of all the books. And I'm going to read more. But I just think there's something so like warm and holding me in the palm of his hands about the writing. Even if it's sad, even if it's lonely, I'm just like,
it's like walking out into a lake.
Every word.
And then suddenly you're drowning.
I feel like I'm being slowly murdered in the most peaceful way.
Those are great.
Thank you.
Okay, my top 3 recs of the week. Number 3 would be Tae Park, Tae Park. She is a clothing designer based out of Brooklyn. I actually met her last week when I was trying on tops for my special. But I've had a real Good Noticings creative Tae Park collab that I've made up myself by buying full price all of the clothing. But that blue handkerchief top I wore to the launch party, that was Tae Park, and I've loved that top forever. And then for my special, I wore a wine-colored tie-up top. You guys will see. That was also Tae Park, and I have to say, I just love her work. I'm always looking for like a special event to buy something because it is a bit expensive. But if you have a special event, I really can't recommend her enough. And they're structured really well. And I think they're made so well. Like getting to have her in her studio show me how each top is structured. Like she had this one apron top, but the ruching on the tie is such that it doesn't slip because it's like the ruching has like a natural indent that keeps it taut.
Wow.
So you don't fall out. So just like little details like that, I really appreciated. And I think they're a unique blend of like feminine and kind of masculine and special, but also you can wear it every day. So I really recommend that. Recommendation number 2 is I've read the book Rejection by Tony Tulatimuti. It's a recently new book. I think it's a Booker Prize shortlist, or at least a Booker Prize long list this year. But it was great. They're like interconnected short stories. I talk about it on the Patreon. I think a lot of people felt the way I felt. It's super readable. It goes really quickly. It feels deeply contemporary, but thoughtful. And one of those things that like, you're with it, and then almost you get scared, if that makes sense, you know? I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great for a vacation read. I'd recommend it for a travel read. I'd recommend it if you're just looking for something to really dive into. It checks all those boxes.
Beautiful.
And then I have to say, rec number 1 is if you can swing it, try and have a dad with a truck. I gotta say, shout out to my dad and shout out to that truck. I know we're famously anti-car on this podcast, but I do feel having a truck is a different thing because it's so utilitarian. And there's something by definition, when you have a truck, it means you're lugging and you're hauling.
Sometimes things have to go places.
And you really can't bring 4 chairs all at once onto the subway. You just don't have that many friends. You don't have that many arms. The people have to sit.
I mean, yeah, the subway is not big enough.
So he helped me build out the set for my special this week, which was awesome. And I'm so proud of how it came out. We were told we couldn't use like any screws or nails or anything in the walls. And we went in and we completely transformed the spot. And without a truck and a dad, it wouldn't have been possible. I guess you could be your own dad and get your own truck. But you may say, what use do I have for a truck? Can I tell you? I'm like sad I don't have the truck right now. I know why we would use it tomorrow. Like I'm like almost every day. I'm like, if only I had a truck right now, I could be hauling. I love to haul. I actually am somebody who loves to help people move.
Yeah.
And I think that quality bleeds through into my own life. I'm like, what should we take where?
That's so true. I feel like you've helped me move before, and I think you would again. The problem is I hate to help me move, and I can't ask you to move me.
Yeah, me and my dad will come move you.
That's the problem I run into is that I say, yeah, I think Claire and Jerry would help me move. I don't want to do it though.
But me won't help me.
If I don't want to lift anything,
yeah,
then I think we have to restart the entire conversation.
Anyway, this week I'm so excited. We have a beautiful rundown of what we're talking about. We're going to, up top, Ashley has actually done the unthinkable and in the name of journalism has walked unfailingly into hell. Take it away, Ashley.
Well, I did some research about what's golf.
She's here to defend golf.
No.
The sanctity of kind of. You're saying that it's better than this.
Oh, no. I think this is proof that this is the final nail in the coffin for golf. We've got to eradicate it. I think anyone who is arguing that it's better than this, it's obviously not. And this is the end for golf.
Yeah, we've seen you for who you really are, you heathens.
I've heard people try to make an argument for golf, and it's been heavily disproven.
And then we are going to talk about Bari Weiss and her recent position of editor-in-chief of CBS News and what that might mean for the real free press. And then we've got...
Oh, GQ made a list of rules for modern gentlemen.
We've got some agrees and disagrees.
Then we are going to talk about a new album from an up-and-coming artist called Taylor Swift.
She's a showgirl and she's living her life. We will not be putting forth our opinions on the album just because we don't have the security measures in place to speak freely.
Listen, I don't have an IDF soldier following me around.
Listen, not that we're being so mean. But anyway, we are going to be comparing and discussing and dissecting the reviews and the conversation around this latest album. Before we have an incredible caps off from former memoirist herself, Sophia Amoruso, the girl boss, the recently cited girl boss.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Also this week on the Patreon, we will be running down all of our thoughts on the Taylor Swift album.
Yeah, our thoughts. So in this episode, we're going to get more into the response to it, but we're going to be digging into our personal opinions.
We also are going to be doing Leave from America, her memoir. We owed it to you for a very long time and the time has come.
And also we are going to be announcing some very special Patreon only events, including our upcoming in-person book club that will also be an online book club. So without further ado, let's talk about Rory McIlroy, the Irish swinger.
Can you tell me what's been going on there? Because I know that what I had seen was this. And if you're like us, not a golf fan, you may see what I've been seeing, which is that apparently people have been so mean to him and his wife. And like suddenly they found this way of playing golf where you're allowed to like be physically and verbally abusive to the players. And I think that that's different than golf, but I wasn't really sure what they were so goddamn mad about. I wasn't sure what they've done the cross. Like, tell me about what's happening.
I can't figure it out.
Okay.
I have read so much about golf in the last couple of days because I've been so fascinated with this conversation around Rory McIlroy and the verbal abuse flung his way by golf stands.
All I know, it was the Ryder Cup, right?
Yes, it was the Ryder Cup.
And our friend, former SNL alum, I guess he's a current alum, Devin Walker, I saw was one of the
announcers or something?
Announcers. And I was like, I don't think he knows about golf. I was like, I guess golf could be anything to any, like, golf is whatever. That's what I got from it.
Okay, so this was unlike other golf games.
Okay.
Which I found out. There is multiple types of golf tournaments. One of them is like the standard golf tournament, like the Masters, where everyone is playing their own game. You play through the whole course and you're trying to get the lowest amount of swings, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's traditionally, I think, how golf is played. You're trying to swing the golf racket the lowest amount of times to get it in the hole. But with the Ryder Cup and this type of tournament, you're playing with a team. It's not individual golfing.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what happens is there's the European team and the American team. And I think two players go up against each other, and whoever gets the lowest amount of swings at that hole gets a point.
Okay.
And then you're putting points on the board back and forth. So it's not about the lowest number of swings total. It's about winning each hole.
Sure.
And it's the two teams going up against each other. So because the nature is not individual, what I've read is that typically in an individual golf tournament, people are much more like cheering for their faves, but you're not being, antagonistic towards your least faves. But because this is a team tournament, people are a little bit more crazy. It's like a little bit more sports game style where you're like booing the people you hate and cheering on the people you love.
Mm-hmm.
And because this was an American versus European tournament, Americans looked like fucking assholes. And it really falls in line with And so apparently the Americans were acting kind of bonkers, really booing the shit out of the European team. And then Rory McIlroy is kind of a top player. He's narrowly lost the Masters several times and then finally won, I think, last year.
Okay.
Which
So
was a
he's
really
like
big deal.
the guy to beat.
I guess so. And another thing that's been happening is last year, him and his wife separated and then got back together. So for some reason, I really don't understand what's happening here. For some reason, this means we hate her. They hate her, not we. Sorry. I like her. I think she's very beautiful. But they hate her. And so people were just like screaming at both of them. At one point, someone in the tournament threw a drink at her head. At one point, Heather McMahon, who was emceeing the tournament, went on the full-on like microphone and said, "Fuck you, Rory." And so it is a question of what the fuck is happening here? Why are they acting like this? It's a golf tournament.
She's not even in it.
She's not even in it. And so then what happened is like the PGA president told BBC, this is just kind of what happens. This is the nature of sports.
Isn't the whole point of golf that like they go against nature? Isn't that why they're always like lawn mowing things and like digging out sand pits in the middle of perfectly fine areas? Because like they're anti-nature. They're like nature should kneel to man's whims.
They've planted acres and acres of a very specific type of grass that is extremely invasive.
Isn't that why they're
the space.
sopping up all of the water that the rest of us could use so that a few men who won't let you on their turf get to determine how to spend an afternoon without their wives?
Isn't that why they're privatizing acres and acres as far as the eye can see of trees so that they can mow it down and leave it as a space for men to swat around?
Actually, men hanging out on a Saturday morning is deeply unnatural to me. Be with your fucking families. What are you, gay? Hang out with your goddamn wives.
For the love of God, use sunscreen.
Not natural for those bald whites to be out in the sun midday. They gotta find shade.
Anyway, so he said things like that are going to happen. You go to a youth soccer game and you hear people yelling the wrong things. And then when pressed on exactly what they said to McIlroy, he said, "I haven't heard some of that. I'm sure it happened. It happened when we were in Rome on the other side, and Rory understands." Another guy who used to be in the MLB, I forgot what his name is, but he commented and said, like, "Yeah, that's why I never brought my family on road games to New York, because that's the vibe in New York." And to him, I say, fuck you.
Fuck you and your family.
Fuck you and your stupid fucking family. We don't want you here.
Fuck your kids. They can't act right in a stadium? Your kids don't know how to behave? Maybe fuck your wife who's raising your kids wrong.
Maybe they're ugly. You ever think about that?
Put a hat on those goddamn kids.
And sunscreen, for the love of God. So it is just this odd thing that's kind of finally captured people's attention regarding golf, because it was loud and it was raucous and it was obnoxious. And people said, I thought golf was the polite one. I thought golf and tennis are the ones that have like extremely
Strict rules.
Like
etiquette rules.
But like I thought that golf is one of those things that like really preserves itself as a gentleman's sport. And to have them acting this way, it's like, well, you just can't have it anymore then, I guess. Join the rest of us at Real Sports.
Thanks for the update and good luck to Rory McIlroy's wife. I think you should be allowed to fuck around on him even if you're not separated. Because I'm a feminist.
I don't even know if she did.
Yeah.
And if she did, she should get to, because everyone's being so mean to her for no reason.
Yeah.
Golf is so weird because when a man is married, everyone's like, that's the proper thing to do. But like, your wife should never exist near you. Like, remember?
I don't remember anything about golf.
Okay. Well, you know Tiger Woods.
Well, yeah.
So you can't be a married golfer. You can't be a slutty golfer. You can't be any kind of golfer. So we just got to get rid of golf.
No, I guess I disagree because they once again are mad about the separation. You have to be a faithfully married golfer.
Anyway, next up, Bari Weiss.
Bari Weiss has just been named the editor-in-chief of the massive CBS News journalism operation, which was recently bought by Larry Ellison's billionaire Nepo baby son. There's nothing like being born a billionaire and then saying that gives me the right to determine the news.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. So Bari Weiss is now the editor-in-chief of CBS News, which puts her in charge of 60 Minutes, of obviously all CBS News-related programs.
So CBS is under the Paramount umbrella, which was just bought by Skydance, which is David Ellison's media company. So it's a conglomerate. And CBS has also been noted
to be leaning much further right lately with the cancellation of Stephen Colbert.
And before that, they had to pay Trump $16 million. It's been seen as somebody who's capitulating and trying to like ameliorate the relationship with the White House. And now, of course, with the very Zionist right-wing billionaire owner who promised not to use CBS as his personal news site, installing Bari Weiss,
who's a Zionist right-wing lunatic.
Crackpot. The problem is she is more nuanced than that, and that is what has taken her so far, but that's what makes her so dangerous. And in the more recent times with her personal website, The Free Press, this idea that she's pro-free speech on all sides, much more right, and much more an ally to Trump. So let me get into the backstory.
So I think it's really important to note who Bari Weiss is, what the Free Press is.
Bari Weiss actually was a Columbia undergraduate who, from the beginning, was quite feisty and incredibly anti-Palestinian. Her time as an undergraduate at Columbia was spent like attacking the Middle Eastern studies and trying to denounce all pro-Palestinian staff members. So that's been her legacy from the get-go. She then became like kind of a conservative writer. She was at the Wall Street Journal. She went to the New York Times.
It's important to note that she defines herself as a left-leaning centrist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not true. So she is someone who believes that more conservative viewpoints need a voice, but she is, I guess, like pro-LGBTQ.
Well, she is gay.
Right?
So she's pro herself.
Yeah, exactly. But she really wears her relationship with a woman on her sleeve as a way to show that she's actually not a like far-right wingnut. But it's the only proof she has, because other than being in a relationship with a woman, she routinely advocates for all of the policies of the far-right movement.
One of her more interesting policies, and I will say, but always with a twist, Ashley was just looking up that her take on Brett Kavanaugh was, of course, he definitely raped that woman, but why should that stop him from being a Supreme Court justice? Which is, I will say,
interesting.
It's a different thought than I've heard out loud.
I hadn't seen that op-ed before.
I guess she is saying the world we live in, which is, it's probably true, but what am I supposed to do, care?
Exactly. And I think what's so interesting about her positioning is that I do think she represents a large portion of the unthoughtful, power-hungry majority.
But what's unique about her, as opposed to a lot of Trump's media source, the Fox News of it all, is she does have this pedigree. And as multiple fawning profiles in Vanity Fair, Centerfold, Los Angeles Magazine, The Times of London, The New Statesman, The Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, and New York Times will say she's incredibly charismatic in person. She has this group of people who listen to her and look to her that are, like, kind of among them, Jeff Bezos, Jerry Seinfeld.
She is the Jay Shetty of journalism.
Yeah, she has this incredibly high, but like of all of the truly wealthy people.
Exactly, because she takes the position that they need someone who they deem intellectual to take.
Mm-hmm.
The way that Jay Shetty is someone that they've decided is like spiritually enlightened. So
Yes.
they need a spiritually enlightened person to tell them that they're right. They need what they believe to be an intelligent journalist to tell them that they're right.
Sheryl Sandberg, David Sachs, Howard Schultz, these are her supporters and her financial backers. So like the 1% of the 1%, like the true billionaires of the world are on her side.
And she's on their side.
Yeah. So they've created this little ecosystem. And I have to say, so at one point she was very anti-Trump, even when she was kind of a neoconservative under Bret Stephens at the Wall Street Journal. She says she cried when Trump was first elected. Like she was an anti-Trump kind of middle ground, I won't be boxed in. However, in 2019, she left the New York Times writing this op-ed.
Well, she basically said that the New York Times claims that it wants varied opinions, but it actually doesn't. There's like this new consensus that you can't fight against, essentially. Essentially, if you're not woke, they don't want you.
And this became, the New York Times allowed Tom Cotton, the Senator Tom Cotton, to say that we need to be sending in the military to like shut down protesters. And she was like, that was a really good point. And like the backlash against him is something I'm against, which is interesting because she is also the big proponent of free speech, I guess, but not when it comes from citizens. Like,
yeah,
the government should be able to shoot protesters with their own military, but also the biggest problem right now is a crush on free speech, which I don't know how you could see both sides of that. But again, she actually is kind of a free thinker.
And so one of her big points, especially with leaving the New York Times, was that when the Tom Cotton piece went out, the paper apologized for it. And the head of the op-ed department or whatever, the editor-in-chief, apologized. Whereas with other op-eds that were deemed more left-leaning that she didn't agree with, that also received some backlash, like the woke pieces, no one apologized for those. Or if they did, it took like days, if not weeks, for them to kind of walk it back. Whereas with right-leaning op-eds, they would immediately kind of like bow down to the woke Twitter people and say like, you're right, this was racist.
So she went on to create a Substack called, it was at one point called Common Sense. It got renamed as the Free Press. It has 155,000 paid subscribers and about 10x that overall subscribers, like free subscribers. It was recently purchased for somewhere between $1 and $200 million. Objectively, it probably isn't worth that. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that they're really buying? And what they're really buying is that in the past few years, she has become someone who will sanitize and disseminate Trump propaganda. And that's why it's so dangerous, because she's calling herself the Free Press. But I guess I could also call myself hot. That doesn't really make it true. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could just call yourself whatever you want. And what the readers have to do is think critically. So her whole thing is that we show all sides of situations. But the truth is, she has become a mouthpiece for the Trump policies specifically surrounding the Middle East, which is something that she deeply supports. She's anti-woke, pro-Israel, and she doesn't want to hear the other side of those things. So the examples in this article, the disgruntled New York Times journalist to anti-woke power grab, how far can Bari Weiss go? And this was written by David Cleon for The Guardian a few weeks ago. And so he kind of goes through some examples of how the Trump administration has chosen Bari Weiss's Free Press to be their mouthpiece, more or less. And also it has become the place that you can go to get your grievances with your quote unquote liberal workplace up to the ear of the White House to then be immediately penalized. So example one is Trump's Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism chose the Free Press to break the news on March 7th that the administration was withholding $400 million in federal grants to Columbia over the university's alleged failure to combat anti-Semitism in the wake of October 7th attacks. So essentially saying like, we're blackmailing you because you won't do what we want on your campus, which again, you know, to support that, is that supporting free speech? Hard to say. When the government gets to control the universities, is that free speech? I don't know. So then the Columbia president basically said, okay, we'll do whatever you want. We'll hand over our Middle Eastern studies for your approval and say what you want us to say in order to get the $400 million of grant funding back. There was a private Zoom call that got leaked to none other than Bari Weiss's Free Press, where essentially the Columbia president was saying to the administration and the teachers, don't worry, I'm not going to make you do those things. After the backlash on that leaked call, the Columbia president had to step down. So again, the free press is not just being used to like spread the word about Trump's withholding funds against universities, but also it's being used to snitch and to hold these universities accountable. So that's example one. Example two is last April, the Free Press published an error-laden article by a disgruntled NPR business editor, Yuri Berliner, who accused his employee of pervasive liberal bias and of betraying America's trust. Berliner was predictably hired by the Free Press 2 months later, and within a year, he was being invited by the White House Republicans to testify against his former employer. In July of this year, Trump's allies on Capitol Hill voted to defund NPR, and the Free Press published Berliner's victory lap. The pattern is clear. If you work at a liberal institution and you want Trump-controlled federal government to step in and discipline it, Bari Weiss is there to help. So now you have to look at the fact that she has joined in the highest ranks, the editorial team, editor-in-chief of CBS, which is already a news company that is seen kind of capitulating to Trump. And you have to think, by installing her, what David Ellison, the billionaire owner, is saying is basically like, hey, Trump, we're on your side. We'll do your bidding. 60 Minutes, which is under the CBS News umbrella, is still the most watched and trusted news show on today. The last remaining vestige of trusted network news is essentially being handed to the White House, and they are being promised, we will not make you look bad, and we will help prove whatever points you're looking to be made. And it's interesting because Bari Weiss is somebody who was very anti-Trump, and she seems to have come around to Trump's side, and even is like, I was such an idiot back then. I had Trump derangement syndrome. Like, I actually like what he's been up to. The liberals are just out of their minds.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's really important about Bari Weiss is, first of all, that she has no real background in journalism. She has a background as a writer and an opinions editor. She has no real background as a journalist.
She also has no personal commitment to the truth.
Right.
Op-eds are just hot takes. What she has a commitment to is getting as many eyeballs on paper as possible. This is just a TikToker who says crazy things, who keeps going viral, and now they get to determine the news.
Okay, and so another thing that I think is really important about Bari Weiss and the Free Press and why it's so valuable is that it is an alt-right pipeline for women. This website, I think if you saw a lot of the headlines, especially out of context with the front page of thefreepress.com, you would not think there's so much so wrong with it. I think that there's a lot of pieces. I'm rolling through their culture section right now. The case for dating abundance, reviewing men, there's an app for that. Why Sydney Sweeney's body is causing a total meltdown.
Yeah, I mean, something that I had said to you that I was freaking me out is, I don't know if you guys know Tinks, but she's a huge influencer online, especially for young women. And I'd say specifically for young, white, quote unquote, liberal Democrat voters who are on the pipeline in this world of like, everybody's kind of being pushed out of the middle and towards the edges of ending up on the right. And I see someone like Tinks consistently publishing the Free Press culture pieces as if this is like a valid news site.
Nobody has a personality anymore. My generation is obsessed with treating every trait as a symptom of a disorder. This is not so far from
something that you and I probably say.
Something that we've talked, or someone that we really respect has written an essay about. You know what I mean? There is a lot going on with like the diagnosis obsession with the internet. And so the fact that the Free Press writes these opinion pieces, which is what she excels in, that are geared towards younger women. And then you find yourself on this website, you find yourself saying, well, I like some of the pieces they publish. And then what they're publishing is like, when the New York Times finally acknowledged that there might be a famine in Gaza, the Free Press did a huge hit piece saying, actually, that kid had pre-existing medical conditions.
That the New York Times and all of the articles about the quote unquote famine in Gaza are actually just like a misuse of information, and they're just trying to manipulate you. And that's not even true. Those kids were going to die anyway.
Exactly.
As if there's no famine. So you just have to think
as if there's not a problem with starving kids who already have a pre-existing condition.
And the scary part is they masquerade as quote unquote the Free Press as if like, oh, we're just saying both sides of it. We're just giving you, but they're actually specifically not giving you both sides.
They've never said one of the sides.
Yeah. And, you know, right now, maybe it seems like the overwhelming amount of outlets are talking about the famine in Gaza, but that's because it's true that there is a famine in Gaza. And if anybody does any journalism, that's what you're going to find. So if it seems like they're speaking up for the minority, it's because they're just lying. They're not telling the truth. And it's just so dangerous to be like positing this website as some normal, like finally someone with common sense, finally somebody who's recognizing that there's some insanity is on both sides of the aisle.
And that's the thing is, when you come from an opinions background, there are two sides to every opinion.
Yeah.
When it's a journalism background, there is truth in journalism. there is a truth that there is a famine in Gaza. This is not an opinion that there should be both sides to. This is a fact of what is happening right now in the world. And that is something that the free press like treats like it's not true, like it's willy-nilly. And so you see these pieces like, so something interesting about the free press is that their social media girl introduces herself every time as a former climate activist who now realizes that there was essentially just like a lot of like misinformation in climate activism. And so that's why she like doesn't care about it at all anymore. It's not like she revisited which sources she was looking at and like what she cared about regarding preserving the earth. She just like actually doesn't care to anymore because that whole movement was so toxic. So like that's who they've positioned as their social media person. The point is an opinions editor is now in charge of a major legacy news platform. And this is the direction the Trump administration has led us, is that in order to stay alive, legacy news platforms are trying to figure out how to make themselves more appealing to the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And in order to make yourself more appealing to the Trump administration, you have to reject news.
I guess I would always say beware of any public persona politically inclined that wants to be famous, because very often they're more aligned with their personal fortune and fame than they are with any true value set.
That's very true. And if you want a deeper dive on who the fuck is Bari Weiss, Diabolical Lies did a whole episode dedicated to just like exactly how she came up, who she is, what's fucking wrong with her. Anyway. Support for this show comes from Cotton. When you're putting together a wardrobe, it's best to find something that you want to wear over and over and over again. It's so fun to find pieces that you're excited about.
And that's why it's so important to find clothes that are made out of a fabric that is going to uphold the elements, being washed, being worn, the wear and tear of everyday life.
And that's why cotton is the fabric of our lives. From denim to corduroy to flannel and more, fabrics that use cotton are made to endure.
It's a natural fiber that comes from the earth, so you can feel good about putting it on your skin.
It makes for a long-lasting wardrobe that's both easy to care for and easy to style. Okay, this shirt that I'm wearing, do you know that I've had this, I think, since high school? It's either high school or freshman year of college.
That's what's crazy. A denim button-down's never going to go out of style, and it looks great. And the more you wash it, the softer and better looking it gets.
It is a shirt that I reach for so regularly. Every time there starts to be a chill in the air, I go, oh, it's time for the fall shirt that I've had for, I guess, how old am I? It doesn't even matter, 167 years.
Did you know it was just my cotton anniversary? And I didn't get anything for my anniversary, but I did take this cotton shirt from my husband. And I have to say the fact that like, it's soft, it's what you want to borrow. We all look good in it. It looks good on everybody.
Cotton is caring, made simple, and actionable.
Learn more about the benefits of cotton for yourself, your style, and your space at thefabricofourlives.com.
Okay, so GQ made a list of 125 rules for modern gentlemen, our guide to manners and etiquette for men in 2025 by the editors. And I don't think they're all bad.
I don't know. There's a lot that I agree with, but there's a couple that I disagree with, and sometimes I'm wrong. You know, like I feel like there has to be room for that kind of take these days. That sometimes you disagree.
Nuh-uh.
No, but it's not.
Nuh-uh.
Can I say it's not even a gray area? It's this is how I feel, and I know that I'm wrong about it. But that's okay.
Yeah. I have things where I say, I know. Listen, I know that when I say I don't think people need to be hugging all the time. I don't think we need a hug hello, a hug goodbye. Like I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Here's a quick hug. Like
no, that's not even how huggers operate.
There's too much hugging.
Nobody's
happening.
hugged on the way to the bathroom.
And I know
you're inventing an op that doesn't exist.
I know that I'm in the minority on that, and it's just a personal preference.
Yeah,
I would never argue that like as a society we need to be hugging less. I actually think human touch is important for you, for you people.
So they start off strong. Take out your AirPods when you talk to someone. Muting doesn't count. I feel like, of course.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about vape etiquette because I've never been a vapor, but they say you shouldn't vape indoors.
They said ask before vaping indoors.
And they say if you wouldn't smoke or vape, don't zin either. I guess I thought they invented vaping and zinning so that you could have a cigarette
indoors. I guess, can I say, I don't think that people should vape indoors at all. And I think when you ask, it depends on the situation.
Wait, does vape put off smoke? Do I sound like the oldest, loseriest hag right now?
I think neither of us are vapors.
And I guess I don't know a third person.
Popping a zin, isn't that just like gum?
It's gum that, yeah.
I guess that I feel, why can't you just do that indoors? That's gum.
Yeah.
or like Tic Tacs or whatever. It's very whatever. But vaping, I don't like it when people vape in like crowded spaces or indoors. I don't think that that's right, even if people ask. I think if you have to ask, the answer is no.
Okay, so the first one that I was kind of taken aback by was everyone loves receiving flowers, but most bouquets are cloying and chaotic. If you have a favorite flower, send a small number of stems. If not, you can't go wrong with a few calla lilies. Calla lilies feels very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Specific?
Not specific. What's a good word for
Morose?
try hard? There's something about being like, I just send a few calla lilies, and I'm like, I get it, GQ editor. You think you're better than everybody. What happens is the thought that counts.
I guess I feel one of the joys of being a man is that you can approach flowers with like more chaos than your female counterparts. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
curious about a bouquet that's both cloying and chaotic, because I feel like cloying is sweet and neat and like overly considered, and chaotic feels like wildflowers, which are the opposite. Like, I just don't think.
I guess I think you cannot go wrong showing up with flowers.
I just think like pretty presumptuous of you, GQ, to assume that the problem with your readership is not that the lack of flowers, but the type of flowers.
Yeah. I think even if I got flowers that were like, you know, those tie-dye dyed flowers.
Yeah.
If someone got me those, I'd still say that's very sweet that you thought that I would like that. And,
Yeah.
and I'm going to keep them in my house till they die.
It's evidence of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my last other one that I was like, this one's crazy to me. Find a signature gift you can give to almost anyone for almost any occasion and stock up. A specific candle, a specific champagne, a specific short book. Surprise people when they get married, have a kid, celebrate a birthday.
Those are all things where it shouldn't be a surprise. Those are gift-required occasions.
Also, I mean, a wedding, they'll tell you what they want. I feel like the idea that anybody at any time would get the exact same candle feels like the opposite of A, the point of a gift, and B, what am I, Gwen Paltrow? What am I, Meghan Markle?
Gwen Paltrow.
GP? Goopy?
I think this applies mostly to a hostess gift. I think when you're going to like a dinner party or something, I think it's nice to show up with something.
I find that this level of chicness of having a statement personal gift that's like you're known for, the way that Tom Cruise is known for his coconut cake.
I think we need to identify a tax bracket for this type of tip.
And I have to say, Chelsea Fagan, who does the financial diet, recently did like, I think it was like 13 or 17 tips on how to feel like an adult for free. And to me, those were much better tips. And this feels so, you know, when you're a stay-at-home mom who has a full-time staff and you've run out of ideas, it's like, why don't we really hone in on your apothique scented candle that you become known for giving? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That feels the next level. But Chelsea Fagan had these tips like, if you want to feel like an adult, get all of your important documents and put them in a specific file and scan them. And I am like, well, that's a good tip.
Oh
Like,
my
this
God.
one feels very for like a type of woman I used to babysit for that had a brownstone in the West Village.
Mm-hmm.
It's not run of the mill. Definitely don't show up empty handed, but the idea that you'd have one unifying gift that you're known for feels.
You could always do what I do, which is have all your documents in one of 5 places. And they're all kind of hidden because they're smart places to hide things. So every time you need to find something, you're moving like full pieces of furniture around.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, this one is just a good tip, but it feels like an outlier. When someone you know has a baby, arrange to send them dinner one night during the first month. Ditto if someone is ill or in the hospital. That feels like different than modern gentleman tips and more like, you're an adult now. This is what adults do.
Yeah. I also have to stand by them. A handwritten thank you letter is still correct.
Mm-hmm.
Even in our digital age, texting your thanks just doesn't cut it and is no way to thank someone for the generosity or hospitality. Put some effort in. Listen, I'm a big thank you card person. I think I was shocked when I was planning a wedding and I was on wedding TikTok and the amount of people who were like, why would I spend all that time writing thank you notes? It's so much work. And I was like, that's the point. Sometimes the point is the effort.
Yeah.
That being said, I think there's certain, like if you go to someone's house for dinner, I think a texted thank you is fine. But I feel.
Oh, yeah. I think for a wedding, like there are certain events where the written note is still so crucial. Weddings are, I think, the pinnacle of that.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's get into, I think, the first one that really had me out of my seat saying, absolutely the fuck not. Greet people you know with a single kiss on the left cheek. No.
Christ. What is this, Europe?
No.
What is this, in a post-COVID America? You want me kissing people on the cheek?
Something has to separate us from the Europeans, and it's the tea and the kissing. We just don't do it. Can I say, when people do greet me with a kiss on the cheek, because it doesn't happen never, I feel off-put. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. I say, what do you think you are? Some sort of fucking like British poet showing up here at a wine bar in Brooklyn? How dare you? We're at a bowling alley. You just tried to kiss me on the cheek.
So then they have a couple that I'm like, I actually agree with you that this is the right thing to do, but I think if you have to say it, then it doesn't count anymore.
Is that where please and thank you?
That's like bare minimum.
One of these is say please and thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
not even.
We
That's
shouldn't
just,
have had to write that down.
stop walking 3 feet ahead of your partner. Instead, match their stride. I am like, if someone has to tell you to walk next to the person you're walking next to, I actually think that's a good sign.
Don't listen to music, podcasts, TikTok, or phone calls in public without headphones. That's not gentlemanly behavior. That's like person.
Yeah.
Just like do that.
Be unambiguous when asking someone out.
That's good.
But I'm like, yes, you have to just ask somebody out.
This one I actually completely disagree with. It's uncouth to show your friends someone else's dating profile.
I feel this is a gendered situation.
Okay. I think it's fine across the board. I think it depends obviously on like what you're showing them for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if a guy were to show like me or another guy friend, like this is the girl that I'm going to meet up with later.
Yeah.
I don't think that I think that's wrong.
I guess the reason I agreed with them is because so many people put dating app profiles online as a form of comedy.
See, that's completely different.
And I feel that needs to be stopped.
This is, it's uncouth to show your friends.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's okay to show your friends. I think it's not okay to post it online. I think that's like a way massive overstep. But I feel like showing your friends, like sometimes I'll see someone where I go, oh, like this guy's hot, I'm excited to meet up. Or sometimes I go, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but he seems sweet. And I'll show my other, like, I don't know. I don't think that it's a problem. I'm allowed.
I have to tell you the one that I read. I don't like personally, but I know I'm in the wrong.
Okay.
This is crazy. The date isn't over until you know I'm home safely. A simple "did you make it" or "let me know when you're in" goes a long way. It shows care, and that's incredibly attractive. I hate it when people ask me to tell them that I got home safely. I'm just like, what am I gonna? I might be busy later. I don't have the time. That's just, oh my God, let me go.
Okay, so you don't read the news? So you don't trust you're going to figure it out either way?
There's something about when people are like, hey, you home safe? I'm like, let me live my life. I'm busy right now.
I also like never know how to respond to it when I'm supposed to be like, yeah, no lions, tigers, or murderers out there tonight.
I'm like, I'm an adult woman. If I die, if I'm attacked, it's my own problem.
If you're so concerned about it, walk me home. I agree with you that that's wrong for you to think, but I get it. Because I think it's nice to make sure someone got home safely, especially because I think it's kind of just an excuse to like follow up text. You know what I mean? But whatever.
They have never kiss and tell. I think you get to kiss and tell. What you don't get to do is like fuck and then describe somebody's genitalia in detail.
I understand this for boys. I think that if you're like hornily telling in a way that's for other men's entertainment, that's like kind of wrong. But I think if you're like, we kissed, that's fine.
Yeah, I want to know. Did you smooch or no?
That's important. It's important information.
What
for how
else
to
are we supposed to
proceed.
talk about?
Okay, here's one that I think is up for conversation. We're proud of you for finally wising up on the fact that Pilates is an amazing full body workout, but if you're the only guy in an otherwise all women Pilates class, chill out with the grunting. I think in general, unless it's an all men's Pilates class, this is going to be controversial. I think we should proceed like Pilates and yoga are for girls. I get that that's not true. And I think that men, I think they can go. I'm not saying
but
they can't
go and watch, but they can't go and do.
No, I'm saying they can go and do, but you need to make yourself feel unpresent in the room. Like, I think that I've been to yoga classes where like men are so, like their presence is so present. It's egregious. And I feel like they're doing fucking handstands and push-ups in ways where I'm like, hey man, it's a basic flow. We're here for beginner flow. You don't need to add 10 push-ups on every chaturanga.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm such a feminist. I disagree.
Okay. I don't think I'm right on this.
No, I think you actually are very much are speaking of the people. I feel that this is the online consensus.
And I think it's completely, like, I'm very pro a man being there if he wants to be there. I just think that it has to feel like you're not. I think if I know you're there, it's wrong, but for you to be there is right.
Fair enough. They get into the office ones, and this is one of the ones I feel crazy about because one of the big distances between the way we talk and the way we live is how we talk about coworkers. Very often, some of your closest friends end up being your coworkers, or your coworkers end up being your closest friends. And because just frankly, no different than how you were in school and how you were in college and how you were at summer camp, they're the people you're around the most, and the people you're in proximity to are going to be people you end up close to.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a lot about like setting firm common sense boundaries. Don't talk to other people. Say as little as possible about why you're taking time off. don't ask why someone's taking time off. They're just, I feel that people like to pretend that your coworkers are just that, and then you leave work and your real life begins. And I think there's obviously a danger in pretending the startup is your family because your family can't fire you and take away your benefits. They could, but
It depends on the type of family.
I don't know. I feel like it's unrealistic to pretend that the people you're around 40 hours a week, you're not going to feel an affinity to.
I do think that there are common sense boundaries to hold. And I think those common sense boundaries are like having a good vibe versus having a weird vibe. I think, when men are like, oh, so we just can't compliment women anymore. And it's like, no, but does your compliment feel like a compliment or does it feel like a weird weighted statement? Do you know what I mean? Like when it says don't comment on people's appearances, I have male friends who, if they say they like my outfit, that's fine because I feel like they're proud of my outfit. Whereas they're proud. I feel like, especially like coming up in stand-up, right? I feel like you go to an open mic, there are certain guys where you're like, he really does like my jacket because he said it in a positive way where he's excited for my jacket.
Yeah.
And then there are guys where I'm like, you're leering at my jacket. Like you're saying something fucking weird to me. And it is a self-awareness. And if you don't have it, if you're completely unaware with how you come across, then err on the side of caution because the message is the message. Like if you don't know how you sound, then you don't know how you sound.
Yeah.
But if you're a normal, like if you are someone who understands tone and intention, then you can compliment people. Okay, this one I thought was interesting. Never say I've already seen this when someone sends you a funny post. It's a weapons grade bummer. I was like,
yeah, I guess it is. Like you could just send them a haha.
You could send a haha. I think that's so true.
It says many characters to say ha 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 ha. If it made you laugh the first time, give it to them. They're right. They're just trying to show you that you're seen and you're known.
This one felt very like, well, the writer of this has been in a specific situation that hurt their feelings.
That being said, Reels users, you've got to like learn your place. You're secondary citizens in the meme economy. Don't be on Reels being like, did you see this one? Of course I did. I'm on TikTok.
Seen it. What do you think of this one? No man who doesn't post for work should have a public Instagram.
No, that's not fair to girls who have a crush on you and want to show their friends.
I agree with that.
And also because men have such bad photos taken of themselves that like give us a chance to show somebody, like you may have one photographer friend who once took a good photo of you that's buried in tagged photos and it's 8 years old, but the rest of your photos look like shit. You need to give yourself every chance you've got to get a good photo because men just like put up bad photos of themselves.
It really shows the kind of guy you are and different people like different kinds of guys. Like I don't like a guy who posts all the time on Instagram, but I still want it to be public so I could see what's up. It doesn't have to be private. It should just not be tons of posts. One time I had a crush on someone and I went on his Instagram and he posts like a full-blown like carousel more than once a week. And I was just like, this is too much posting. I don't like this about you.
Never charge your friend for a dinner party.
That's crazy.
Really?
To charge your friends for a dinner party?
Oh, that's what they're saying. Never charge your friend for a dinner party.
I know. I just can't believe it even came up. I guess unless it's some sort of like group idea or something really fancy is happening and everyone's agreed to it before.
Yeah, if like your book club has a potluck every year, if your book club has an event and like one person offers to host it.
Yeah, or like if someone is like, what if we did like some sort of like fancy food item that's very expensive?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's like a collaborative.
No, but if it's your idea, you can't be like, I'm inviting you to something I want you to pay for.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Wait, can I say one that I really agree with? And I think it seems like one that shouldn't have to be said, but it does have to be said. Small talk is both an art and a courtesy to the person next to you at a social occasion. I think overall as a society, we've randomly decided to throw small talk under the bus in the last like 5-10 years.
You're preaching the choir, baby. You know I love being in an elevator and talking about the weather.
But I think that there was a period of time when people would claim they hated small talk but would still do it. I have been at events over the last couple years where small talk has ceased to exist and you seem weird for talking to people you don't know. Like if you just like make a comment about something at the party, people will look at me and walk away. And I'm like, this is fucked up. You're a bad person, actually.
Maybe you have more enemies than you realized.
No, can I say I definitely do. But if one of my enemies who didn't know they were my enemy, when we ran into one of my enemies the other night, I think that if he had been like, these are good appetizers, I would have been like, yeah, I love the little tuna things. And walked away instead of leaving him hanging like well, he's a big loser who deserved to be left hanging.
You guys, I have no idea what she's talking about either. So don't feel left out.
I'm talking about a true enemy versus someone that you kind of dislike. I don't think I would leave him hanging.
Don't ask why people are not drinking. I do feel like that has to be said, even though it should be obvious.
Yeah. Okay, can I say one? This is I could be wrong.
Mm.
Don't bring your own hot food onto a plane. I think obviously be conscious of smell, but I don't want to always eat cold food. And I don't know that cold food is necessarily less stinky than hot food.
I am. I guess I'm like deeply like capitalist MAGA Republican. There's something about a plane where I go, well, they're treating us like animals, so I have to act like an animal.
Exactly.
I am like, they've made it like every plane ride I take is like you're on your own, fight for your life out there. I will do what it takes so that I can land in one piece without a blood clot. I'm sorry.
I guess I feel very like if I am about to have a miserable experience where we are potentially going to be locked on this plane for the next 10, 15 hours, they can do whatever they want to us. And I'm talking about a 2-hour domestic flight, like the way that they can just shut the door on you and say, it sucks to suck. I'm going to do it with a warm Potbelly's veggie sandwich.
Amen. You know me, I'll be at Farmer's Fridge, but they don't really care. I'm done giving them shout outs because they won't acknowledge me back. And I'm like their number one lover. I feel like Charlie XCX. Nobody back home wants to hear about your delay nightmare. This is about traveling.
We each speak about our own back homers because you guys are my back homers. And I think that you like hearing about the travel. Okay, can I say one more?
Yeah.
Invest in mood lighting. Nothing kills the vibe like a big overhead light. I don't care.
Oh my God, that's my thing that I know I'm wrong about.
I don't care.
I was talking about this the other
sorry.
day that like I wish every room was lit like the sun. Mac loves mood lighting and I'm always like, I want it high, I want it cold. I wish I could have everything lit like a photo shoot.
I have to look beautiful to you in my own fucking home. Let me just flip the easiest light on. It lights up the whole room. I don't want to do around every single time you come home, you have to walk all the way around and you flip each tiny little wall light, each tiny little lamp. I don't want to live like that.
I don't like
I want to see.
I don't like yellowing.
I want to see what's in front of me.
Me too.
It's my own goddamn house.
Support for this show comes from Cotton. Now more than ever, cotton is the fabric of our lives. It's key to the long-lasting, breathable, and comfortable materials that fill our homes. Cotton is caring, made simple. Learn more about the benefits of cotton products for yourself, your style, and your space at thefabricofourlives.com.
So today we will be talking about the Taylor Swift album, Life of a Showgirl, TS12. And we are not talking about the album itself. We will reserve our theories and our judgments for the Patreon this week, where we'll also actually be talking about Leave from America. It's kind of a stacked.
Tron.
But for now, we would like to discuss the contrasting reviews. We read the Atlantic's review, the New Yorker's review, and the Rolling Stones' Dick Suck. Would you call it a review?
Yeah, so let's first discuss The Life of a Showgirl. This is Taylor Swift's 12th studio album. Taylor Swift, in the last couple of years, has...
Ever heard of her?
Okay, so Taylor Swift, she's a musician. She, in the last couple of years, has obviously made headlines every 14 seconds because she was re-recording all of her albums because her masters had been bought out from under her. So she, in an act of defiance, re-recorded most of her catalog so that she could own her masters. Then she did a massive tour, the Eras Tour, which was, I think, the highest grossing tour that's ever happened. She used that money to then also buy back her masters. So now she had her re-recordings and her masters. She owns every piece of music she's ever made. She used her Grammys win when she won Album of the Year for Midnights? To announce a 2-part 11th album called The Tortured Poets Department, which then was released as a 2-part album. Then
31 songs, 13 backwards.
A year and a half later, the Eras Tour has wrapped. She's gotten engaged to her football star boyfriend, and she put out her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl.
Can I say, I won a Grammy for Best Album. I had the highest grossing tour, and then my boyfriend won the Super Bowl. I also would be bad at coming up with analogies. I would just be like, I don't know, I was really good. Like, think about the best thing. It's like that good.
So something important about Taylor Swift is that she's extremely prolific. Like, she puts out a lot of music, but she also puts out a lot of versions of all of that music. She puts out live versions. She puts out remixes. She puts out a lot of stuff. And people obviously speculate that it's so that she can continue to rule the charts. When she has an album that goes number one, or when she has a song that goes number one, she'll put out versions of it and versions of it and versions of it in a way that people suspect is to maintain her number one status by like never letting anyone else even get close.
So the Rolling Stone reviewed this new album, and I'll just read some snippets. Taylor Swift has stood atop the pop world, glittering in a sequined midnight blue bodysuit with rainbow confetti falling at her feet. She has mesmerized stadiums packed with fans whose screams and cheers register on the Richter scale. She's broken streaming and chart records, she said herself. She's released a career's worth of music in the span of 5 years. Nearly 2 decades into her career, spinning in her highest heels, she has reached a whole new artistic and personal peak, each time reaching higher and higher than the last. This review basically is like everything she does is great, and this album is greater than anything she's ever done, which is like a new height of greatness. And it's not just written all in fawning over Taylor, it's like written in Taylor talk in her own universe.
Overall, I think that the shortcoming of starting out with the fact that Taylor Swift is quite objectively on top of the world is the fact that this album is angry and trying to prove something. And so to say everything is going so perfect for her, and that's why this glittering album is perfect, makes no fucking sense. Because if everything is perfect for her, this is actually a fairly antagonistic album that, like, if things are perfect, the album is out of place. And
yeah, if what she's trying to convey is happiness, why does she seem so fucking pissed off? So something I found very interesting about this review, as I said, is that like people have wondered, did Taylor Swift pay for this review? And I would say, I don't know that she paid for it, but I do feel her team wrote it. With her 12th studio album, the musician shoots into a fresh echelon of superstardom and hits all her marks.
it feels very much like Taylor Swift and Rolling Stone have an important relationship that they kind of went back and forth and were like, okay, here's our review. What do you think? Okay, we're working on, what do you think? And then there was enough back and forth that Rolling Stone just said, hey, why don't you write it and send it back to us?
It's just so ripe with Taylor self-referentialness.
I mean, spinning in her highest heels.
The fate of Ophelia is clear that Swift has stepped into uncharted territory. And then she was later like, the omnichord trills make you want to keep listening to find out just how Swift changed her prophecy. That's a reference to the song The Prophecy. They're talking about how this album stands in contrast to the Tortured Poets Department, which was grayish and long, and this is iridescent and tight. That's all by mastermind design, of course. No one could have known that when Swift played her Martin-era masterpiece, New Romantics, during the final Eras Tour surprise song set, it was an Easter egg for the soundscape of this album. I mean, one has to wonder, did the author of this article even recognize that, or were they given talking points?
One does have to wonder. So this review fell pretty far out of line with the internet's consensus.
And yeah.
And I think something very interesting about the response to this album, listen, I listened to it 4 times all the way through, 3 times on a run, and then again separately. And I do find it extremely listenable.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a compliment. I think like lots of things are easy to listen to. I think Tate McRae is pretty listenable, but I don't listen to it and go, that's genius stuff.
I'm sorry, can I read one more quote that I just said? Oh my God. She is as hilarious as ever, comparing a foe to a toy chihuahua and then thanking all the haters that call her bad news. She's bolder than she's been, embodying a dick-singing music mogul with eerie threats.
Okay.
Oh my God, this one kills me. As she reaches for new heights. No. There's something, I like read it and I'm like, there's an announcer reading this.
Yeah. I mean, she wrote it for herself. For like, this was like originally the voiceover for the documentary.
Showgirl is the castle she built out of all the bricks that they have thrown at her. She begged on her knees to change the prophecy, and the love she writes about here did just that.
And that's the thing of where this is written by Taylor's team, is because Taylor believes that people are throwing bricks and she needs to build a castle to protect herself. I guess the thing that's fundamentally disjointed from Taylor Swift, I think with Reputation, she had a point. And since then, it's been very difficult for her to paint herself as the underdog. I mean, on Midnights, she was the anti-hero. On Tortured Poets Department, she was like hanging from the gallows by the audience who hates her. Like, she's always talking about these haters. And I think as someone who has now had the biggest world tour that's ever lived and used that money to buy back her mat, like, she has everything. She has the fiance. She has the rights to her music. She has the record-breaking success. If someone wrote a mean tweet about her, like, who fucking cares? And who even, like, why does that person matter? Because she won. She has lines in this album about being, like, at a height so high, like, no one could ever deny her success again. And it's true. Like, at this point, say what you want about Taylor Swift, she is one of the most successful pop stars of all time. Like, you can't have the conversation of the greatest of all time without including Taylor Swift. I'm not saying she is the greatest of all time. I'm just saying it would be stupid to exclude her from that conversation. And so to sit here and act like people are hurling bricks and it's affecting her, like, what do you mean? She has a lyric on one of her songs about being officially too big to fail. And it's true. And I don't disagree with that at all. And I like a lot of her music. The problem is that when we exist in this world where no criticism of Taylor is valid because you either can't criticize the music because it's objectively award-winning. Like, there's nothing you can criticize without people, like, not necessarily even disagreeing with you, but proving why you're wrong. Like, what does she mean, the bricks? Like, what does it matter even?
Well, the problem is, like, the way that her fans act in their most extreme is, like, a top-down problem that is being signified and, like, allowed and encouraged by Taylor herself. And I think this relationship she has with Rolling Stone, it's very clear that, like, you know, loyalty, as this album has shown, is very important to her. And she would rather you be a bad person who is nice to her than, like, a good person who questions her. Absolute loyalty to her is paramount in terms of what she values in a person. And I think, unfortunately, we have a magazine that's being held hostage. I guess that's the power she built for herself. I do wonder if, like, a one Taylor Swift cover pays for the rest of the year.
So I want to get to what I find the most egregious line in this entire review. For Showgirl's curtain call, Swift is even beckoned by the freedom that could come if she gave up her crown one day. The closing track, notably the title track, prominently features none other than Swift's understudy, Sabrina Carpenter. I guess I do think to call Sabrina Carpenter Swift's understudy is, like, needlessly cruel. They're just two different pop stars and both can exist.
And I feel like they're trying to do it under, I imagine it was to stay within the theme of Showgirl. But still, sometimes there's two people on a stage.
There can be two people on a stage. There can also be two people on different stages, which is where they naturally tend to be. And I know Sabrina opened for Taylor.
But that's not an understudy.
That's not what an understudy is. If Taylor Swift had been sick one night, the Eras Tour would have been canceled that night. They wouldn't have sent Sabrina Carpenter on. I think this Rolling Stone article is obviously why Rolling Stone is going to remain in the good graces. I think the way Sabrina Carpenter, it seems, is just going to accept that, like, someone's going to call her an understudy. It's not her problem. Like, that's why she'll stay in Taylor Swift's good graces and reap the benefits and also deal with the negatives, which is this.
So I read the New Yorker article called "Do We Still Like Taylor Swift When She's Happy?" And it's kind of about, like, the response to the Showgirl and the fact that people find it not to be her greatest work of art, specifically in terms of lyricism. And it opens basically saying, you know, if I were to talk about Travis Kelce, a man I've never met, I guess I would talk about how, like, good he is at football and how big his hands are and his new podcast and his vibes seem pretty good. And that's, of course, what she talks about on her album. That doesn't seem like there's any intimate moments that we wouldn't have already known about.
Secret moments in a crowded room.
Yeah, they got no idea about me and you. And he says, like, it's pretty misogynistic that we would say, oh, because she's married or because she's happy, she's not going to write good music. But of course, this is a woman who has developed this incredibly relatable amount of work. And I think the relatability is part of what makes it so great. And this parasocial relationship about her exes. And she's joked about it in Blank Space. And it's true that she has these muses and that she has written a lot of love songs. Is it fair to ask, like, what will happen if being in love and being married and having this happily ever after will impact her work? And, you know, I think you want to say, no, of course not. And the evidence is, of course not. Reputation is a lover album.
And that's the thing, is she's written amazing love songs before. And this is not something that I'm saying with research. I've not gone through her entire catalog and tallied what I like and don't like. I think I like her more when she's happy.
Yeah.
Because I don't like very often the songs where she's negative or talking about how hard it is to be famous, because I don't think it rings true for her. And I have a really hard time separating the art from the artist in that context. I don't like hearing about Taylor Swift talk about all the eyes on her and, like, what it's like to be the center and to deal with all of people's expectations of her, because she continues to up the ante on our expectations of essentially all pop stars. And I think that if she felt this way, there are changes. Like, she is a leader in the industry. I think that there are changes she could make that would affect almost everyone. And she really only cares about her own bottom line in a way where I'm like, I guess just tell me when you're happy then, because when you're sad, I find it deeply unrelatable.
So basically what this article is talking about is, like, the kind of sexism that we've seen in response to this new album, that I feel that this third album, post Folklore Evermore, where I do think she was pretty universally beloved musically. And then Midnights came out to some questioning. And then TTPD came out to some questioning. And it seems as though The Life of a Showgirl has kind of broken open the floodgates of being allowed to criticize Taylor Swift's music prowess.
Can I say one thing about that? I do think that this album is not good. Like, I do think the lyricism is not strong. I think the storytelling is not strong. I think that the musicality is, like I said earlier, listenable, but like, I don't think it's groundbreaking in any way. And I think that because her last two albums have been kind of bloated and out of place, I think a lot of times, like the aesthetic hasn't necessarily matched the music. There have been things that aren't up to par with what we've seen from Taylor Swift on her last couple albums. But I think that there was like a lot of backlash for anyone who dared vocalize that. And now, because the consensus, I think it's just reached a critical mass and people have to say like, okay, she's not perfect. Not everything she puts out is better than the last thing. And because we've all kind of agreed that maybe it's okay to critique Taylor Swift a little bit, I think everyone like took a deep breath and said, well, I've got some grievances.
Yeah. So he's saying to combat this fear that, oh, maybe we just don't like her when she's happy, or the accusation that she can't write happy music. He's saying, first of all, some of her great songs are love songs from the Reputation era, from the Lover era, even from Midnights, like Sweet Nothings is very sweet. He's saying, if fans think the problem with The Life of a Showgirl is that Swift is happy, then I would encourage them to listen to the album again. Resentment of basically everyone besides Kelsey is present throughout the songs. She's got enemies in Hollywood, in the music industry, and all over the internet. And Wishlist, where Swift distances herself from people who want, quote, 3 dogs that they call their kids, a surprising lyric from someone who once proudly called herself a childless cat lady. She also dreams of telling the world to leave us the fuck alone, and they do. As a longtime fan wrote on X, for years it felt like she wrote songs that spoke to the core of the female experience at its most vulnerable. It felt like she lived and learned in parallel with other listeners, and that feeling is gone. Swift is about to marry Kelsey, but it's possible that in Showgirl, she's breaking up with us. And I do think that that is something that is important about this album, and this idea that it's not some iridescent, happy, joyful glitter pen album. It's like weirdly pissed off. And I think the dissonance the audience is feeling with the penmanship is that we can't really tell what she's pissed at because she won.
Exactly. And I do think, just in a contrast a little bit to in this album, she's breaking up with us, I still don't know what she's saying in this album that she didn't say in Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, the one where she says, I'm having his baby, the one where, like, there's a couple songs from Tortured Poets Department that fully encapsulate, I think, everything that we're getting on Showgirl, but like with better music. Like, she already broke up with us. Like, she already told us she doesn't care what we think. She can do it with a broken heart. She's lying to us all the time. Like, she already told us all that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was funny. My dad goes, Life of the Showgirl, what's that all about? And I go, oh, it's Taylor Swift's new album. And he goes, yeah, but like, what's she got to say about it? And I go, that's a really interesting question. And one I do not feel the album answers, except for, I guess, in the song The Life of a Showgirl, when she goes, somebody once told me I couldn't, but now I can, and I will.
Yeah.
She's doing it.
She's doing it.
If you hadn't heard, she's a showgirl. Anyway, do you want to tell us what The Atlantic said? Because actually, this article is by...
So this article is by Spencer Kornhaber,
who wrote the article that we loved about the future of culture. Is culture dead?
And, you know, he really didn't think this was a great album. And he really points to the fact that it doesn't sound like she's having fun. She's become too cynical to sell a fairy tale. And I think that that's true. Like, when you talk about the piece she wrote for Rolling Stone about herself, that she's building a castle out of all the bricks that have been hurled at her. What bricks? Like, she's too cynical to write the story that she wants to tell because she is so obsessed with the negative when it seems she's being showered most of the time in positive. And like, instead of living in her fairy tale world that she's built for herself, she could live atop a castle and never once interact with, you know, us peasants. But what she does is she stews on it, and then she decides that no criticism matters. Do you know what I mean? Like, and she gets angry about it. Like, we've talked a little bit about the mogification of Taylor Swift.
I mean, that's what we'll talk about on the Patreon.
And there is something to be said for the fact that, like, she has this Republican-coded belief that, like, not only does she deserve everything, but if you dare say a damn word about it, you're a huge problem. And I do think it is like a cynicism that like really has seeped into every aspect of this album and made it really unenjoyable. I guess there are a lot of things that people have asked her to be upset about and she won't. And so the things that she's chosen to be upset about, it's hard to be like, oh, you're right. Like, that sucks. I don't care. Theoretically, this is an interesting place for Swift, the ever-striving Sagittarius, to be at the end of a checklist of goals and still unsatisfied. Her Economics Quaking Eras tour flaunted the power earned by years of hard work. Her engagement to Travis Kelce appeared to fulfill the romantic quest she has long sung about. Unfortunately, Showgirl is the sound of an overworked, overexposed entertainer reaching the mountaintop to find something worse than disappointment, burnout. And I still have to ask the question, then why not take a year off?
I think that's what the music is revealing. I don't think that's what she's trying to tell us. She's not singing about burnout.
Yeah.
She's singing about winning.
And he talks about like what's missing from the typical like Martin and Shellback banger. And he says it's novelty and passion. And I do agree with that. It feels very like empty.
Yeah.
He talks even about Midnights. The album was barbed with intrigue. It captured a journey inward. Showgirl, by contrast, doesn't raise or answer questions other than what's the point of releasing an album whose music seems so exhausted and on guard? And I think that that's something I really agree with. She seems just like upset to have to reveal anything or to answer any questions. The question is why?
Mm-hmm. I saw for the Showgirl's last trick, you'll never guess what she's doing next. She's selling more variants.
Yay. So on the Patreon, we're going to talk about
our personal belief about the music and each song and what we've liked and what we're questioning, et cetera, et cetera. We're also going to talk about Lee from America.
Oh, wait, no. I also want to talk about Swift versus Charlie.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that.
I have a lot to say about the Charlie situation.
Anyway, so for this week's Caps Off, we're doing actually an entire TikTok video by former memoirist Sophia Amoruso.
So Sophia Amoruso made a whole TikTok about this Taylor Swift lyric. So you girl boss too close to the sun. And she had a lot to say about it and the way that she obviously invented the term girl boss. Don't forget. Don't #never forget. And what we've done as a society to the girl bosses. So without further ado, here's Sophia.
Did your girl boss too close to the sun?
I published Girl Boss 11 years ago now. Spent 18 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. It sold 500,000 copies, became a Netflix series, and now the word is in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Yeah, it's a real word. So I'm actually like Shakespeare. It was something that inspired a generation, became shorthand for ambition, and then culture did what it does, and it took it down. It became that we girl boss too close to the sun. It went from empower her to she's too much in about 5 minutes. And it became a joke about women, that we were too ambitious, that we were too loud, that we took up too much space, and that we were working too hard. And how dare us want so much? So yeah, culture rewards female ambition, and then it mocks it. And then it reclaims it when it feels safe again. So I've read a bunch of things in the press. People keep sending me stuff, and people are trying to figure out who she's talking about. Maybe she is talking about someone, but the fact is that it's about all of us. It's about all women who dare to be visible, who dare to do big things, who dare to have too much fun. Because we're supposed to play small. We're supposed to be demure. Oh, yeah, demure. And that's the sad part. But it's also the part where it's like, okay, well, if they're going to take us all down because we're going to go too big or we're going to be too visible, then why not just all do it? Honestly, it's kind of cool to see it come full circle. I hate pop culture, but maybe I'm a Swiftie now, or maybe I do want to be part of her girl gang, or maybe she can be part of my girl gang, okay? And if you want to, you can too. And we can girl boss to the sun, but there's no such thing as too close. That's it. It's late in London.
I actually got a full transcript of this because I almost wanted to do a close reading of what I thought was one of the more insane TikToks. First of all, comparing yourself to Shakespeare is actually incredibly Taylor Swiftian, as somebody who has now misunderstood Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet.
She's your English teacher. You know what I was thinking about that I said privately to Taylor?
You said something privately to Taylor.
Privately to Claire, but I'd also like to put out to the masses. The pop star English teacher is Dua Lipa.
Yeah, unfortunately, that bitch does read good books.
She reads good books. She asks good questions.
We went to her book club, Service 95. Anyway, then culture did what it does, and it took it down. It became that we girl boss too close to the sun. It went from empower her to she's in too much power in about 5 minutes. First of all, it didn't actually happen in 5 minutes. As she points out in her own video, she came up with girl boss 11 years ago, and this TikTok came out pretty recently, I guess a couple years ago. And it wasn't like society. It was a girl making a joke about herself. She was making a joke. This was a joke. This is not actually is castigation the right word?
I don't know, but societally, we don't believe women as a whole. I guess, in many ways, societally, we do believe women have girl boss too close to the sun. They're really rolling it back for us. But
the takedown of the term girl boss is not one of the worst systemic attacks on women. It was when we reevaluated what a girl boss was and how It was really just not feminism, but capitalism.
Yeah.
Saying that a few select women, if they're willing to behave as men, essentially, if they're able to tear each other down and act in a deeply individualistic, self-promoting, self-enriching way, that's actually not good for everybody. Look at the Sheryl Sandberg book. I mean, this idea that, oh, yeah, what's her name? Fucking, who's the Yahoo lady? You know, she becomes the CEO of Yahoo and then doesn't take maternity leave and is like, that's because I'm such a hardworking woman. It's actually not good for women everywhere to not have maternity leave.
Exactly. This girl bossing too close to the sun is an irrelevant like reference to girl boss as it applies to Sophia Amoruso. Sophia Amoruso was a class of girl boss who, like Claire said, we realized is not about feminism. It's about capitalism. A woman being the boss doesn't matter if it's not improving conditions for women. It's not a difference just because a girl is in the big chair than a boy is in the big chair if none of the women in the company are treated any differently. I mean, with Sophia Amoruso, right? She notably crashed and burned because she
abandoned the company that made her money in order to promote her book because she wanted to like raise her own star and her company was left in the dust.
Like her personal brand was more important to her than her company. She spent bazillions of dollars on like office furniture. The company went bankrupt. She was like removed from her position before they were unable to save the company. She was not ambitious enough. She didn't care about taking her company to the next level. She only cared about taking herself to the next level. That doesn't mean fucking anything.
So then she goes, so I've read a bunch of things in the press. People keep sending me stuff and people are trying to figure out who she's talking about. This is Taylor Swift.
She's talking about herself, idiot.
She's talking about herself, but she's not talking about you, Sophia. I love the way she's like, yeah, people are sending it to me and they're wondering who she's talking about. Taylor Swift did not write a song about you and the way you got canceled and how sad that is. It's also not one specific person. It's like a general idea. And also it's pathetic that she used somebody else's TikTok slang in her own song. Anyway.
I mean, every song on the album is TikTok slang.
And she goes, maybe she is talking about someone. But the fact is it's about all of us. It's about all women who dare to be visible, who dare to do big things, who dare to have too much fun because we're supposed to play small. The fact is when it's a Taylor Swift song who is like, as we just talked about, the winningest winner, I guess she can have it all. I guess her and Gigi Hadid and the fact that all those women are still her friends proves that it doesn't really hurt you. What we've learned is cancel culture isn't real. You can still get into the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
If they're going to take us all down because we're too big or we're going to be too visible, why not just all do it?
We can't all be girl bosses who will be exploit. Some of the women have to be the exploited workers.
I guess I also want to know, like, what is she talking about? Does she think that women have stopped pursuing leadership roles because she burnt her company?
I also love that she goes, we're supposed to be demure. Yeah, demure. Yeah, like, yeah, the problem is that like trans woman of color who came up with like a funny little TikTok slogan. Yeah, let's attack her.
It's kind of cool to see it come full circle. I hate pop culture, but like maybe I'm a Swiftie now. This is just such a like misuse of all words. What do you mean you hate pop culture? Like you are pop culture, Sophia Amoruso. You are nothing if not a name and a face that people talk about culturally.
You had a Netflix series. Maybe it only got one season because you hated the essence of it. Like
what does it mean to hate pop culture? Like you exist as a part of the zeitgeist, and that is the only reason that this TikTok exists.
You made slut clothes for college girls. If that's not pop culture, like what do you mean you were nasty, gal?
But also what I want to say is like, if you believe that you were quoted or discussed in a Taylor Swift song, it's because you're part of pop culture. Taylor Swift isn't like reading tons of business books and like came across one of your lectures. I don't understand like what you like. I hate pop culture, but maybe I'm a Swiftie now. First of all, you can like music and not like pop culture. You can like pop culture, but not like Taylor Swift. There are a lot of ways to like that. These two things have just truly nothing to do with each other.
I hate to use another TikTok slogan, but to go, I hate pop culture is like very pick me. Like,
It's
who are you trying to
so
impress? You're on
pick me.
TikTok.
Maybe I'm a Swiftie now. Maybe I want to be part of her girl gang, or maybe like she can be a part of my girl gang. She's not joining your girl gang.
She does not even want you in hers. She forgot you existed.
I feel like this was her attempt to Jay Shetty be like, yeah, of course, like I could join her girl gang. She could join my girl gang.
I'll have my people call her people.
She sounds like Bug.
And we can all girl boss to the sun, but there's no such thing as too close. Okay, sure. We're just, shut up. Shut up. But anyway, it was funny to watch somebody both completely misconstrue. I guess like misconstrue everything. To misconstrue like the
Like
history.
not a single word in here is used right. And she's completely rewriting her own history in such a psychotic way.
But also then to like be like dissing Taylor Swift in the sense that like you had never been a Swiftie before because she's beneath you because she's pop culture. But now that she's like worried about you and your cancellation, which she's not, maybe she could be your friend now. And like also she says it with like the way she's shimmying her shoulders and the way she's like shaking her head. Yes, it's like so insecure and so uncomfortable in her own body that to watch somebody that unsure of themselves be like, actually Taylor Swift, you passed my test. And now that you mention it, yeah, women, stop shrinking yourself.
Taylor Swift, if you want, you can come join my girl gang. Anyway, can you pay for a dinner? I think Sophia's Amoruso's new thing is like...
She's a venture capitalist.
Oh, a VC. And also I think she like sells business classes.
Oh.
Like an e-course on being a girl boss.
If you buy my e-course on how to sell e-courses, you yourself could become an e-course seller. And be as rich as me, the e-course seller. Anyway.
And together we can girl boss right into the sun and explode.
Famously, that was a son and father. Icarus was a boy. Like, it's not like they're like, only women can go too high. Like, we actually stole that from the boys. Anyway, Ashley?
Yeah, Claire?
Any final noticings?
No.
All right. Well, good night.
And good noticings.
Support for this show comes from Cotton. You need clothes that are a breeze to shop for and a breeze to wear. But it's also important to care about what we put on our bodies. That's why now, more than ever, cotton is the fabric of our lives. It's the natural fiber behind so many of your favorite long-lasting clothes. Cotton is caring, made simple. Learn more about the benefits of cotton products for yourself, your style, and your space at thefabricofourlives.com.